What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we're doing the what's next on Raymond Muratalla, the undefeated lightweight contender, following a hard-fought, come from behind 10-round decision victory over Tevin Farmer, as he continues his undefeated record rolling ahead of what could be a title shot soon. We'll see. Before we get into all that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, Muratalla, like I said, that fight with Farmer was a good one, but Farmer was winning halfway through the fight into the sixth. It wasn't a blowout, you know, but Farmer was, I had him up probably after 5 rounds, 4-1, 3-2. And after 7, you can argue he was up maybe 4-3, 5-2 at worst. Then he lost the point. I believe it was in the 7th or 8th round. He lost that point. And that kind of seemed to re-energize Muratalla to where he started attacking more, and he started to get to Farmer. It was kind of a breakdown, you know. It was the Farmer, the older veteran, was doing well, but Muratalla's constant pressure finally in the second half of the fight tired Farmer down, and he definitely won those last 3 rounds, and I think that's what won him the fight. I mean, you can argue it was a 1-point fight based on the point deduction, which I thought was fair. You know, you can argue, and I understand both sides of it, you know, like, oh, the point shouldn't have been taken away because there was no immediate warning prior to that, but he did warn both of them, and Farmer in particular, a couple times about the holding, because it was constant. Farmer kept holding the right hand of Muratalla. So you know, I felt like it was fair. Was it kind of out of nowhere based on the action at the time? Yeah, but there had been warnings, so wasn't completely out of hand. It could have impacted the fight, but I think it more impacted it from it being a victory to a draw, because it was somewhat close. But I think Muratalla winning by 1 or 2 points is fair. I thought he did come back to win the fight, and so for me, I probably would have scored it like 6-4, and then you had the point deduction, which, you know, made it like a 3-point fight. But it could have been closer than that. But I think the right guy won, and now the big question is what's next for Raymond Muratalla following this victory. And, you know, he's ranked number 2 in the WBC and the WBO right now. We gotta wait and see what the governing bodies, I mean, what happens with the other guys, because that's really going to impact what happens with Muratalla right now. And we know a lot is centering around a couple things. First and foremost, Gervonta Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson. Are they going to fight each other or not? You know, there's talks of that fight happening right now. And then you got undefeated and undisputed mandatory #1 contender William Zepeda, who's knocking on the door of a title shot. He wants a title shot next. So where does that leave Muratalla, as he's number 2 in the 2 governing bodies that Zepeda's in? So a lot of moving pieces here. So we'll see. Let's run through the top 10 for Muratalla and see what could be possible. We start with IBF champion Vasily Lomachenko. Loma made it clear as he called off negotiations with Gervonta Davis for a fall fight. He made it clear that he wants to take the rest of the year off, spend time with his family, and that he'll be back in early 2025. Does that take Muratalla off the table? I don't know, because Muratalla, he would have to take off likely more than 6 months if he's got to wait around for Lomachenko. But it's an in-house top-ranked fight. After Muratalla looking the way he did against Farmer, would Lomachenko fight Muratalla next in his comeback fight? So I think there is a definite possibility here that Muratalla takes the rest of the year off as well if he is guaranteed a showdown with Lomachenko. But again, I think it's going to be based on what pieces fall from everything else going on in the division. But I do think it's possible. Then you got Gervonta Davis. I don't think Muratalla's part of the Gervonta Davis discussion as an opponent. But whatever Davis decides to do, because he's sitting at the top right now, he's the big money fight, it's going to impact Muratalla. But I don't think Muratalla is in line or in discussion for a showdown with Davis, so I'm going to say no to that one. Then there's undefeated WBC champion Shakur Stevenson. Stevenson won the week prior. Stevenson wants to fight the best fighters, and right now Stevenson is in line for potentially for a showdown with Gervonta Davis. But if that fight doesn't happen, because I'm still iffy about if Davis really wants to fight Stevenson. If Stevenson doesn't get Davis, what is he going to do? Where is he going to go? I think a lot revolves around the next option, which is William Zepeda. If Shakur Stevenson decides to fight Zepeda or not, or if Zepeda doesn't want to fight Shakur, because that fight has been ordered, will the WBC then order Muratalla to fight Stevenson if Stevenson doesn't move on and fight Tank Davis? I do think there's a possibility that Shakur, if he doesn't get Tank, would fight Muratalla for the in a mandatory fight of the WBC. I do think that's a possibility. Shakur would have to work with Top Rank because it would be held at a purse bid, so he wouldn't really have a choice but to work with Top Rank for that fight. And I think that might be
to take the California 1 South, California 68 West ramp to Central Monterey.
I honestly think that might be the only thing that works against Shakur, or works against a potential of this fight, is that Shakur doesn't want to fight for Top Rank or work with Top Rank. But again, he might not have a choice just because it's it would be held at a purse bid. So I do think there's a real possibility of Shakur. Then you got Jermaine Ortiz, an in-house fight. I don't think Bob Arum, after seeing Tevin Farmer, the way he fought against Tevin Farmer, Muratalla, I don't think Bob Arum is going to expose him to a faster, slick southpaw fighter who boxes like Jermaine Ortiz. So I'm going to say no to this one. It is possible because they're both top rank guys, but I think less likely because I don't think the style makes sense for Muratalla. He didn't look great. I think they want to really put him in there against guys he's going to look good against ahead of a potential title shot. Then there's WBO champion Dennis Berianchik. And again, this fight, because he's ranked highly in the WBO, this fight is possible if the dominoes fall his way from Stevenson and Davis and whatever happens with William Zepeda. I personally think Gervonta Davis is going to go maybe after the winner of Isaac Cruz and Jose Valenzuela, which is taking place this weekend. If that happens, then I think there's potential for Shakur to fight William Zepeda. But if that doesn't happen, I think Zepeda would go after Berianchik, and Muratalla would probably move after Shakur. But say Zepeda gets Shakur next, then I think the possibility of Muratalla going against Berianchik is possible, especially since it's an all-top rank fight. So a lot of moving pieces. I do think it is possible. I'm leaning towards the less likely on it, though, based on what I think is going to happen, but we'll see. Then you got William Zepeda, the undisputed top-ranked contender right now at lightweight. Zepeda, this is an interesting one. It could happen, but it depends on what goes down with Shakur Stevenson. I'm honestly leaning towards the less likely because I think William Zepeda is likely going to go after Dennis Berianchik next. I think no matter what. I think Shakur, I don't think he wants to fight Shakur next, Zepeda. So I think Shakur is going to end up fighting somebody else, which Zepeda would then go after Berianchik. because he's mandatory to that belt as well. So I don't see Muratalla and Zepeda colliding in a final eliminator or anything like that. Then you got Frank Martin. That's PBC working with Top Rank. I don't see that one. Then there's Zaur Abdullayev, who's highly rated well, not highly rated, but he's ranked decently in the top 10 of a couple governing bodies. If Muratalla doesn't get a title shot next, I do think there's a possibility of a fighter like Abdullayev getting Muratalla in the ring to continue Muratalla looking good, because I think Abdullayev's a beatable guy, but it's not an easy matchup, so we'll see. Then you got former unified champion George Kambosos Jr. I guess there's an outside possibility, but I honestly think Kambosos is moving to 140. Whether he gets the fight with Liam Paro or not in the All-Australian battle, I still think Kambosos is probably making his move to 140. Then there's guys like Keyshawn Davis, who's number 3 in the WBO. I honestly think the WBO, if like Zepeda gets a crack at if William Zepeda gets a crack at Dennis Berianchek for the WBO belt, I think the WBO could order Muratalla and Keyshawn Davis because it's an all-top rank fight, but they would both have to agree to this, and Bob Arum would have to want to make this fight. Not sure he wants 2 of his undefeated young studs going against each other. So right now, I think it's 50-50. I'm leaning towards the less likely, but it could happen. Then there's Floyd Schofield. I don't see that one. Edwin De Los Santos. I don't see that one. Miguel Magdueno just lost. There's Chen Tonson, who's number 5 in the WBA. I guess maybe he's an undefeated Canadian fighter. Maybe they could get him to sign on. And then that's it. So who do I think is Muratalla's going to fight next? Again, it's a lot. Everything is riding on the Tank Davis situation. What is Tank going to do next? I personally feel Tank Davis is going to fight the winner of Cruz and Valenzuela. I'm really leaning towards that possibility. If that happens, if indeed that happens, I think Shakur Stevenson is not going to get William Zepeda. I think William Zepeda is going to fight Dennis Berianchek for the WBO title next. If those two, if that happens the way I think it will, I think it's going to leave the door open for a mandatory fight because the WBC's already ordered Stevenson to fight Zepeda. If Zepeda passes on the WBC's order, I think the WBC would then upgrade Muratalla, who's number 2, and I do believe they would both sign on for this fight. Shakur would have to work with Top Rank, but it would be held at a purse bid, so it really wouldn't be like working with them. But he might have to fight on Top Rank. So I do think there's a real possibility of Muratalla and Shakur Stevenson for the WBC belt. But if Top Rank doesn't want Muratalla to fight Stevenson, if he passes on that, then it's going to be interesting to see what he does. I do feel like a contender showdown with Keyshawn Davis is possible. A contender showdown with Zaur Abdullayev is possible. Again, I think there's an outside chance of a Dennis Berianchek showdown for the WBO belt. And then I also think there's an outside chance that he takes the rest of the year off and he's the guy to fight Vasily Lomachenko for the IBF title early in 2025. So I'm very interested in seeing what goes on with Raymond Muratalla and what he does next. And that's it. That's my What's Next video on Undefeated Lightweight Contender Raymond Muratalla following his hard-fought decision victory over Tevin Farmer on July 13th on ESPN. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.